Loading images from external files allows you to change the images in your applications without having to republish your SWF. In addition, your SWF files don't get bloated by the file size of the images. In the same folder as this FLA file, I have a folder called Assets. In that folder is a file called boats.jpg. If you don't have the exercise files, make sure you have your files set up in a similar way. An Assets folder in the same directory as the FLA, and an image called boats.jpg, all lowercase. Let's go to the first keyframe of the Actions layer and open up the Actions panel. In order to load an external image file or SWF, you use a class called the loader class. So type var, and then a space, and then type loader, lowercase. Data type it to a loader. Flash writes the import line of code. Set it equal to a new space loader, parentheses and a semicolon. So loader is a class that's not built into the Flash interface like a movie clip or a bitmap image is, but at the same time, calling this code to create a new loader is just like saying create a new empty movie clip. So that's what the new command does. Let's go to the next line, and we'll have the loader load the file that we want to load. So loader.load, and in parentheses, you can see that the first parameter is request, which is a URL request. You may be familiar with URL requests already. The code snippet that links to an external website uses the URL request. So you use the same URL request concept when you're loading any kind of file into Flash. So in here, I'm going to type new space URL request and parentheses after that. And Flash tells me I need to put a string inside of there. That's going to represent the location of the file. So I'll close out the parentheses first. So I should have two closed parentheses, one for the new URL request and then one for the load command. And inside of the URL request parentheses, I'm going to type some quotes and then the path to the file I want to load, which is assets slash, so assets is a folder, and inside of there is the file I want to load called boats.jpg. So if you don't have the exercise files, make sure you're typing the correct path to your file here. Again, this is relative to your SWF file. Now go to the next line and add one more line of code. Remember that in order to see anything on the stage, you have to add it to some sort of display object container. So add the loader to the stage by typing add child with capital C, and in parentheses, type in loader, all lowercase. So I'll test the movie, and there's the boats image on the stage. Now I'll close the preview window, and let's take a look at one more thing. Let's say we wanted to make sure that we didn't put the object on the stage until the file was done loading. So you want to check to see when the loader is done loading the boats file. To do that, go above the line of code where you have the loader load the file. This is very important. You want to make sure that this line of code is processed first. So you're going to tell Flash to add an event listener listening for when the file is done loading. So type loader and then a dot. Now you may be thinking that you're going to type add event listener right here, but actually you don't add the event listener to the loader itself. The loader actually has a property called content loader info, and you're going to add the event listener to that object and not the loader directly. So the key things are add the event listener before you load the file, and you add it to the content loader info property and not the loader itself. So after that, type a dot and then add event listener, and the event's just going to be event.complete. This is usually used for when files are done loading. So comma and then a space, and then type file loaded. Close out the parentheses and type a semicolon. And then just wrap that add child command in a function. So type function, space, file loaded, capital L, and then in the parentheses type event, event with a capital E. Close out the parentheses, type void, wrap add child in curly braces, You can auto format if you want, and then test the file just to confirm that the image is still on the stage. And there it is. So you can load external files using the loader class. Remember that you need to add the event listener to the content loader info property before issuing the command to load the file.